instead of thinking about the community in deficit ways, instead try to think about the assets of the community. Even graffiti can be an asset. Right? So this kid in that same Rochester group, this woman said that one of her students kept skipping detention, and she was upset about it. And so she followed him home one day to see what, bad stuff he was getting into instead of going to her detention. Because he kept saying, I can't stay. He never gave a reason. He just said, I can't stay. So she followed him. Oh, I'll tell you why she followed him. She followed him because she overheard him saying he needed to get a Lucy. Do you know what a Lucy is? Typically what a Lucy is? It's cigarettes that are sold not in a pack, but by single, because you can't afford a whole pack. Yeah, no, a Lucy, a singleton, right? Because you can't afford the whole pack, so you get, piecemeal it. So, yeah, it's more expensive, actually. It's extortion, yeah. So she was thinking, oh, he's going to smoke. So I'm going to go bust him and the clerk. He was buying single diapers because he had to go take care of his little sister after school. They couldn't afford a whole pack of diapers. He was buying Lucy diapers. So just think of the shift that she had to make and how she viewed this kid just in figuring out what a Lucy was, right, in his context. And what does that mean that he has to buy individual diapers instead of a pack? What kind of conditions are at the house? And what does it mean that he's in charge of the siblings? What does that mean for him when he comes to school in the morning? What does it mean for his homework completion? Now, does that kid have some assets? What are his assets? That one particular kid. He's responsible, resourceful, accountable, family-oriented, probably nurturing, hopefully, because he's watching the baby girl, right? He has so many skills that she would never even recognize if she didn't know what he had to do when he got into his community. So part of knowing who your students are, knowing who they are in your classroom, who they are within their community, and what their community looks like. That you have a store down the street that sells Lucy's means something. And he comes with all kinds of capital, this kid does. And navigational tools that most of us don't have. So a community asset is anything that makes your neighborhood a better place to live. And you should do this with your teachers, but you should also do this with your students. Organizational, individual, cultural, business, educational, environmental. It's the process of finding and making inventories of these assets. So when I coach teachers, I have them draw a picture of their community within a 5-mile or a 5-block radius. They draw a picture, and then they plot alongside of their school all of the assets. So they might discover that there's a Y down the street, that there's a church who gives food at Thanksgiving or has emergency shelter and clothing, right? So you have to figure out what the assets, especially if you are a low-resourced community, you have to figure out how to be creative in making sure that people's needs get met. The only way you do that is figuring out what's in your community. And then you can see the community through a different lens as well, right? This is a community with cultural capital, financial capital, right, that you may not have seen before. Maybe there's a garden where people can pick their own food, and you didn't know about that. So then I have them draw the map, and then the week after that, they come with all the things that they looked up to see is in that community plotted on that map. This is really powerful for kids who will say things like, I come from this community, it sucks, but I'm this, or it comes from this community and I'm this, right? If they can see what the capital their communities have, they see themselves differently. If kids don't learn, whose fault is it? If I give you a message and you don't understand the message, whose fault is that? Mine. I have the message. I can't say, you don't get what I'm saying? No, I don't get what you're saying. No. So I have to say it in ways that you're going to understand what I'm saying. I have the message. I have to convey the meaning. You have the knowledge. You have to convey the information in a way that is accessible to all of your students. It is your responsibility. It's your teacher's responsibility. I remember my daughter in 2nd grade, I couldn't do her math. I don't want any problems. So I couldn't do her math. It was some crazy, stupid math. Of course, it had to be stupid because I don't know how to do it. So it was solve this problem 4 different ways, saying in complete sentences how you solved it. Now, that is crazy. Nobody's doing that. Who can do that? 4 different ways explaining how you solved? Come on. So now you mix English with the math. It's all bad, right? So I'm like, you know what? I can't do it. And at the time, her father was in a master's program, so he was home. He wasn't home at night, right? Because it was in nighttime, right? So she was like, I can't do my homework. I was like, I can't do it either. Like, we just don't know how to do it. We don't know how to do it. We don't know. And so she started crying, Miss Reese, look, hey, I can't do anything about that, right? Like, I can't do it. What do you want me to do? I can't do the math. Your dad's not here. It's time for you to bed. I don't know what you're going to do. She's like, I don't want to miss Reese. She's one of those kids, real. That's the nerve, I want my homework done. Why can't you shut up? I didn't say that. I just said, look, I can go to the teacher with you and let her know that you tried to do the math, and we tried to do the math, and you won't miss recess. She's like, okay, but I won't have my homework. Shut up. But I didn't say that. I said, good job. She's one of those kids that's real. Mom, I have a report in 2 months, and I need to start now. Really? Wow. Okay, so the next day I go to the teacher and I say, hey, look, we tried to do the math. We can't do it. So she's not going to miss recess because it's not her fault or my fault that she couldn't do it. She's not going to miss recess. And from now on, because I don't teach 2nd grade, and I certainly don't teach 2nd grade math, you two need to work this out. She comes here every day. You come here every day. Figure it out. You don't leave until you know. Don't let her leave until you check that she knows. Everything okay? All right, I'm going to work.
But that's old middle-class value you just did. Yeah.
All of it is. What kind of parent, first of all, is going to say, I don't know your math, right? I don't know 2nd grade math. I don't care. I have high self-esteem, almost Donald Trumpish. Right? So I don't know your math. I don't care. That doesn't bother me. I don't care. I know some other stuff. I just don't know that. So that's the first thing. Who's going to humiliate themselves? I didn't feel humiliated, but maybe some people would feel skittish about that, especially if you have not been successful in school. Are you going to come and admit that you don't know something? No, absolutely not. Who's going to suffer? That kid, right? Because you're both going to be struggling and crying at night, and no one's going to learn it, right? The second part of that, though, in the middle classness, I saw that teacher as a peer. Right. I'm talking to her like, we're homegirls. Look, make sure. Right. You make sure. All right. We're peers because we have the same background. How many parents don't have that? So if she didn't learn the math, what do you think would have happened? She didn't learn that lesson. I wasn't able to help her. I didn't go talk to the teacher. They didn't work it out. What would have happened to her? She would have fallen behind. Who's responsible for that? Me? Am I supposed to get her a tutor? Am I supposed to learn the math myself?
But we say that about students. They fail because they didn't do the homework.
Yeah, all the time.
They didn't do the homework because they didn't understand.
Boom. And it's not the parent. It's not my job. I don't teach 2nd grade math. That's so on purpose. You don't want your child in my class. So it's not my responsibility. She's in 2nd grade. If she doesn't know it, am I going to say, hey, you need to take responsibility for your learning? Why didn't you tell a teacher you didn't understand it? Why did you come home expecting me to help you? She's 7. Who's responsible? It all goes down in the classroom. If the parent never shows up, if the student never says, I don't understand it, it is still your responsibility as a teacher that they learn. And if they don't, that's your responsibility too. No one wants to argue. No one wants to argue? You just don't want to fight anymore? Okay.